Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hari Bol, Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to all of you. I am very happy to see all of you right from Vrindavan. I am actually in Vrindavan. So I am trying to address you from there. So here I am in the holy land of Vrindavan, where Krishna performed his beautiful pastimes, and he stole butter here. He lifted the Govardhana hill here. Yesterday, I completed Pradakshina of 24 kilometers of the Govardhana hill. And if some of you were there, I don't know. We had a live version from Vrindavan also at some instances. It was a great pleasure for me to be here in Govardhana and now in Vrindavana to be here with you on this session. So this session is going to be a little challenging for me because of not having very good internet connection. So in case something happens from the land of Vrindavana, what can I do? Right? It must be Krishna's will. I want to tell you an old joke today, is that many years back, it seems, it's a very hilarious joke. While people are joining in, I thought I'll keep you busy with that. It is a wonderful instance of the person in Vrindavan, a mutt head. Very simple man, like in Vrindavan most people are, simple devotees of Krishna. He actually wanted to make a trip and see the world's largest religion functioning in the Vatican. So it seems that he worked himself all the way up to the Vatican on a special invitation from the Pope. And he went all the way to the Vatican. And the Pope was very amazed to see him with an interpreter. He spoke to him, and both of them had a lot of conversations about God and everything. Of course, from Vrindavana, he told him that I'm from the land of God. That's where God performed his Leela, his pastimes. He stole butter. He lifted the Govardhana hill. He chased the gopis in these bushes. He went to rear the cows with the cowherd in the forest. And this is Govardhana hill, everything. And the Pope heard all these things and said, what a strange idea of God. He steals butter, he lifts the hill and all that. Anyway, it was very fascinating to him. Both of them became very good friends. And then the man said that I want to make a call to God. And the Pope said, what? I want to make a call back to Vrindavana. It's a land of God. I want to speak to God on the phone. And then the Pope said, oh, really? And here is a telephone. And you'll have to pay for it, so many dollars per 5 minutes or, 2 minutes or whatever. And he was very surprised. I have to pay for it to speak to God in Vrindavana? And he said, yeah, you have to. And then whatever it is, he spoke from there over the telephone. And then he asked how much. He said that is $50. And that's $50. Wow. And then he paid the money to the Pope. That's okay. He thought, fine, that's how your customs are. In Vrindavana, it is different. Anyway, he invited the Pope to Vrindavan. You must come to the land of God. You're talking about the land of God, and the land of the chosen people is Jerusalem, etc., etc. And this is the land of God, and you must come. He invited the Pope. The Pope noted it down and said, definitely, I want to visit all the amazing things that you have told me. So it so happened that after a long time, Pope actually came to India on a special invitation. Incidentally, I met the Pope John Paul II. I met him personally in Cochin, and I gave him a Bhagavad Gita and spoke to him for a few minutes. He was very amazed to speak to us in Polish language with an interpreter. So the Pope does come to India, by the way, just in case you're thinking. And I am not that person whom I am narrating the story to you about. So he actually came to Delhi, and then he told the Prime Minister that I have to see this one holy man in a place called Vrindavana, the land of God. Oh, Vrindavana, you want to go? Wonderful, wonderful. I thought that, then he said, okay, I'll introduce you. And then special security forces and all that took the Pope to Vrindavana. And there he met this person, and he's invited him to his mutt and showed him his Goshala, showed him his wonderful ashram, and so many other sages and, ashramites and everything together. And then they had a long talk, and then the Pope even ate food there. He ate prasadam, food of God. And there was very interesting conversation between them. Finally, the Pope said, I think it's time for me to go. Incidentally, I have to make a call. To make a call. And then he made a call from there to the Vatican. And then he spoke to his people, and then he said, I'm in this place and everything and all that. At the end of it, he said, please tell me how much I have to pay, how many dollars I have to pay. I don't mind paying. Then this man said, no. In God's land, calls are free, because this is God's land. And call is free. There's no charge, because God is here and it's free. So the Pope was very stunned and said, you have to charge in Vatican because God is not actually there. But this is God's land, and call is free here, because God stays here only. It's not a foreign call. I had to pay from there because I had to call all the way to the land of God in Vrindavan. But when you talk from here, from the land of God, it is God is right here, and there is no necessity for local call only, no charges, he said to the Pope. So it's something like that. I'm speaking to you from Vrindavana, from the land of God. And I hope that by Krishna's mercy, that this session will go on nicely with no technical hitches. So welcome to all of you. I think while you are moving in, I wanted to relate this brief history. Thank you, all of you, for being here. And incidentally, again, for those who joined late, the scenery behind me is a little different for you. It's the wallpaper on the wall, and I am in Vrindavana at the guest house of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON. So I'm speaking to you from there. So thank you very much for being here in this session of Living the Gita. And very soon we will be commencing our session. And before that, I wanted to ask all of you, if you want to share anything from what you have heard the last time in the sessions. I left you with some very important information last time. If you remember right, if you can see my screen, I think you can see my screen. We learned that we are soul, Atma, not this body, right? I think you remember that. Do you remember that? We learned that we are Atma.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes. And you have a body. You are not the body. This is a very important lesson I think we learned. Okay? And I told you that all of you should reflect on it and think about it very deeply. And I'm sure you have done it in the past week. Then we also learned that for the soul, there is no death at any time. It does not come into being. Najayate mriyate va kadachin. Then we also heard Krishna's example of how just like you change your dress, you actually change your bodies, but you are constant and the body is only changing. Then we went ahead also to discuss how human being is the highest form of life, and how there are various different changes and bodies that you have undertaken for so long. Many different types of bodies you have changed.
Wake up, time to wake up.
millions and trillions of lifetimes you may have passed. So Bhagavad Gita is asking you to wake up.
Time to wake up.
Time to wake
Come
up.
on now, wake up. Wake up, sleeping soul.
Wake up, sleeping soul.
Wake up. It's time to wake up. Come on, wake up, yeah. Come on now, wake up. Wake up, sleeping soul. Wake up now, hey.
So I think you remember that we have changed many bodies. And we are here now as human beings. And it's a very rare form of life. And we also heard that the human being in his highest development of blossomed consciousness. And there are three primary qualities of the soul, Sat, Chit, Ananda. And that eternity, knowledge, and bliss is absent because the soul is sleeping and operating through a very small energy of itself. And the cause of all the suffering we have is identification with the body, is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. And we also heard that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. These are all the things we ended with. And I gave you the good news for the weekend, telling you that the good news is you don't die at all. Dying is an illusion. You only lose your body. If you understand that I am the body and not this, if you understand that I am the spirit soul and not the body, then death does not mean anything. It just means a change of dress. When you change your dress, you are still existing. You go from the new dress, you go from the old dress into the new dress. Same way, when the body dies, you get another body. You keep on living beyond death. Okay? So similarly, I wanted to tell you today an important derivation from this understanding is that the way you see yourself, that way you will see others. Okay? The way you will see yourself, you will see others also. Your relationship with others depends on how you see yourself. Very, very important point you should note. Your relationships and how you see the people whom you're related to, whether it's your mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, children, your neighbors, your boss, your friends, it all depends on how you see yourself. If you see yourself as spirit soul, then you'll see all of them also as spirit souls, and your relationship will be highly enriched. Highly enriched. You'll go beyond the person's physical behavior. You'll go beyond the person's mental perception and impressions. You'll go beyond that person's intellectual understanding, and you will access the spirit soul. That is true relationship. And that type of relationship can happen only when a person is fully Krishna conscious. So the main important thing you learned, I'm going to summarize it in a point form today for you. Please note this down, it's very important. First thing is Krishna defines knowledge. First wisdom point is, Prabhupada explains this in the purport if you have noted, to know about matter and spirit and the controller of both. That is called knowledge. To know about matter and spirit and the controller of both. The controller of both is God, Krishna. And matter and spirit are two things. In the material world, we are learning all about matter. In our education system, is all about matter. I told you Newton's law, Pascal's law, Ohm's law, that law, this law, how matter behaves and exploiting matter, everything. And now we have started learning about the fact of something called spirit. The soul is spiritual in nature. The body is material in nature. So these are diametrically opposite things, actually. And we don't learn anything about the spirit. That's a big problem. We are zero in spiritual understanding. The Bhagavad Gita is ABC of spiritual life. Prabhupada told us that it is like an undergraduate course in spiritual life, the Bhagavad Gita, basics. So knowledge means knowing both matter and spirit. Since we know only matter, we are not completely knowledgeable. Only when you know spirit can you understand matter completely. This is a very important thing to know. Only when you know spirit can you understand matter from that platform perfectly. When you don't have an idea of spirit, when you don't know your spirit soul, then understanding matter becomes very, very difficult, although to some extent you work very hard to understand. This is a problem with scientists and material knowledge and everything exclusively. Okay? This is a very important point to note. Again, matter, body, temporary, spirit, soul, eternal. You are eternal and the body is temporary. That is why in 2.11, Krishna is saying, Asochayan anvasochastvam prajnavadhamscha bhashase gatasum agatasumscha nanusochanti pandita. You remember this, I think. Krishna is saying this to Arjuna that, now can you see my video? All right. Yeah. Krishna is telling to Arjuna that you must know that one who is learned, one who knows that body is and what is soul, does not lament for any stage of the body. Very important point. No lamentation. You know what's the meaning of lamentation? I think I told you about Delhi ka laddu jo khaya, do Delhi ka laddu nahi khaya. Dono paschate hain. There is one who has eaten Delhi ka laddu. He's always lamenting, अरे कब मिलेगा और एक लड्डू कब मिलेगा और एक लड्डू कौन दिल्ली जा रहा है दिल्ली जाएंगे तो हमको एक लड्डू लेके आने का है प्लीज दिल्ली का लड्डू is so nice यार I want दिल्ली का लड्डू right so in this way he is lamenting then the person who has not eaten Delhi ka laddu but has been hearing a lot about Delhi ka laddu he is also thinking my gosh I also want to eat here. I've heard so much about Delhi ka laddu. I also want to eat. Right? He is also lamenting. This is lamentation. Arjuna, the first chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. He is also lamenting that I'm not able to do this. I have this. This lament is the sign of a Shudra. Means one who laments is ignorant. Right? So one who is in knowledge is learned. One who is not in knowledge is ignorant. These two things are to be understood very carefully. Okay? Right. So Krishna starts Asochayan anvasochastvam prajnavadhamscha bhashase. He told Arjuna that do not lament for something that is not worthy of grief. It's not something you should lament about because these are temporary things. They come, they go. The body comes, the body goes, but you are a permanent factor. Very important point for us to note. That is a wisdom point that I wanted to bring to you. And Shloka 14. Please, if you have the Bhagavad Gita in front of you, turn it on, open it. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkadha agama pagino anityas sangsthitiksha bharata. Now that he has taught Arjuna that you are not the body, he is next teaching how to tolerate sukha dukkha. Two things that happen to you in this world. You're either happy or you're not happy. You're either happy or you're not happy. And why does it appear like that? Happiness and no happiness? Why? It is because Matra sparshasthu kaunteya shitoshna sukadukka daha agamapayino anityas tam stitikshasva bharata. Let me ask one of you to read this translation that is there on this. Okay, Henry Amalraj. You have to unmute yourself, Henry Amalraj. We can't hear you.
Okay, Guruji,
Yeah.
thank you. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O Shyam of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed.
So wonderful. Thank you, Henry.
Thank you, Guruji.
Look at this, what he's saying. One must learn to tolerate it. What you should learn to tolerate? The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress. This is very important to know. You must tolerate happiness, is what he's trying to say. Even happiness needs to be tolerated. For a soul who knows that I am not this body, either happiness or distress is only sense perception. You see, you are inside this body as spirit soul, and the first covering on you is a subtle body of mind, intelligence, and ego. And there's another covering of the gross body on top of you. Through the agency of the gross body and the subtle body, the soul is relating to matter and material world and sensing the matter in the material world. So whatever you see, whatever you feel and touch, whatever you hear, whatever you experience in the material world gets transferred through sense perception, feeling, hearing, smelling, tasting, all these sense perceptions, they get transferred through the mind to you. So Krishna is saying these are only sense perceptions. They may not even be real. They may not even be real. Because your reality comes from your sense perceptions. What your body senses gets transferred to the subtle body, to the mind, and you get feeling and emotions based on that. This is a very nice sensation. This is a silk cloth, and I'm sleeping on a bedspread of satin. This beautiful feeling. This is a sense perception conveyed through the skin touch to the brain, and through the brain, you are getting to know about it, and the mind is creating emotions. And then you feel that through the subtle body. Same way for tasting a nice gulab jamun, right? Yesterday I was in Govardhana. They gave me special sweet made and offered to Govardhana in the Annakuta ceremony. And it was very juicy and tasty, right? So I was enjoying the prasadam and said, so wonderful. Govardhana Giridhari's mercy. I enjoyed it because the taste of the sweet. In this way, I am enjoying through my senses, material object through my senses, and the mind is involved in creating those impressions, and I feel good. Similarly, I feel bad about very hot weather or floods in Chennai now. I can't go out anywhere. It's raining cats and dogs and everything. Or here in Vrindavana, it has become very cold slowly. For a South Indian, it's very cold. For these people here, it is not very cold. Sense perception is different for North Indians. They said, no, it will slowly become very cold at the end of December and beginning of January. This is nothing. This is very pleasant weather for us. We need just a scarf around the neck, and that is enough. Or a little shawl. But I am shivering almost, and I'm wearing an overcoat, and I'm wearing my kulla, I'm wearing my scarf, everything together. There's a difference in the sense perception of the North Indian of the cold and for a South Indian. So there are variations, and I feel differently, he feels differently. So these are all sense perceptions. Krishna is telling Arjuna, your lamentation and feeling bad about this, that is just sense perception. And then Prabhupada is giving in the purport an example of, in the summertime, the mother is cooking, your wife is cooking in the kitchen. It's very hot, and she's over the stove, over the gas range, and she's cooking there. And that cooking is making her sweat and everything. But still, she is dutifully doing it, tolerating the heat. And the same way, in the winter time, it's very cold and you don't like to take a bath, you don't like to wash your feet, it's cold. You tolerate it and still do it because you need to take a bath, you need to wash up, you need to do all these things. So he's telling Arjuna, tolerate it. Because they just come and they go like the winter and summer and autumn and spring seasons. They're not permanent. But a person who knows I am the soul and not the body, he should not react to it. He should just tolerate it. Right? Tam stitikshasva bharata. Titikshva means to tolerate. Bharata means, oh Arjuna, please tolerate these things. Don't get excited and worried and anxious and lose your focus completely. Okay? This is a very important instruction. After knowing that you're not the body, now you must learn to tolerate bodily perceptions that are good or bad for you. Actually, good and bad in the material world are two sides of the same coin. You know, one coin, you toss heads or tails. It's the same coin, this side and that side. Both are material. Good and bad, both are material. Krishna is telling, just tolerate the good side also, tolerate the bad side also. Don't get too absorbed in material life because it is good on the good side. That also is bad for your spiritual life. So you tolerate the good and tolerate the bad and be focused on the spiritual. Interesting, very interesting advice given to Arjuna. Okay? Remember that. All that we perceive is perception only, it is temporary. It's not permanent. So this is a very interesting advice. Then if you open up 2.17, another important instruction. Avinashi tu tat vidhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham abhyayasya asya. Hare Krishna, somebody has to mute. Vinasham avyayasya asya nakaschit kartum arhati. And as Krishna goes ahead, you see he's upping it up. Slowly, slowly he's increasing his instructions and the depth of his instruction. First, he made you agree that you are not the body. Then he told you that since you're not the body, why are you worried about the perception of happiness and distress that comes from the body? Right? Because you are spiritual. Nothing can destroy consciousness which spreads through the whole body. Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvam idam tatam. That which pervades the whole body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. Now Krishna goes ahead and tells you more properties of soul. What's the meaning of soul technically, in terms of physics? Right? He's explaining to you what is soul. And here you can get an understanding. I don't know who it is, because on my screen, which is very small here in Vrindavan, I cannot see. But if you can see, somebody has to mute himself. Please do so. Very interesting instruction. Is that all Krishna is giving science of the soul. You can see he's teaching academically to Arjuna. It's like a classroom. He's giving technical information on the soul. Whatever you may do with the body, whatever you may do outside and kill and maim a person or cut off his hand, cut off his legs, cut off his head, nothing can go wrong with the soul. Avinashi tu tadvidhi. You must know. Tadvidhi means you must know. Yena sarvam idam tatam. What pervades his whole body, that is consciousness coming from the soul, and the soul can never be destroyed whatever you do to the body. You may cut the body into 1,000 pieces and throw them into the well, but the soul will continue to exist. Why? Why? That is very interesting. You will see now. Krishna is describing after this something very, very interesting, which I want to show you. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, Maharaj.
You see that? The shloka, if you go to shloka number 29, is saying about the soul. Well, let me say you go to shloka 22. Sorry. Go to shloka 22. Do you see that? We read this shloka. The garment changing and old clothes and everything. And then Krishna goes on to say, you will see that people think of the soul as something very, very amazing. Here, shloka 23, I'm sorry, shloka 23. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakah, nachainam kledayanti apo, nasoshayati marutah. Interesting, he says, the soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burnt by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. These are properties of the soul. Krishna is explaining now physics. You've learned, can be wet by water, can be dried by the wind, can be burnt by the sun, etc. He's giving here an important information that is not at all matter like you know. Matter can be burnt by fire, can be moistened by water, can be withered by the wind, can be cut to pieces by a knife, a sword, a lance, a spear, or whatever. But soul is not like that. Its nature is spirit. Therefore, you cannot cut it to pieces, you cannot burn it by fire, you cannot moisten its water, cannot wither it by the wind. Giving you an idea, the soul is not what you think it is. And look at this. Achedyo ayam, adahyo ayam, akledyo asosya evacha, nityah sarvagatastanur, achalo ayam sanatanaha. Verse 24, if you go to, you will see this individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. So these are all properties of the soul that Krishna goes into to explain to us it is not matter. It is directly opposite to matter. We are talking about absolute, and the world is temporary and relative. Absolute and eternal, temporary and relative. So those properties that we know normally about matter are not at all the type of properties that you will study with spirit and the soul. So these things to be noted because Krishna is summarizing what it means to be in that situation of understanding that I am spirit soul and I am not matter. Very important for us to know this. That's why I am spending some time on this, Now you understood about the body very well because it obeys Newton's laws of motion. It is matter, and I don't need to go into detail into that. But the nature of the soul is spirit, and therefore there is spirituality as one of the properties of the soul of you. This distinction between matter and spirit, Krishna is spending some time and showing it to you. Okay, so take note of that. Shlokas 23, 24. And then he also goes and said, Ascharyavat, the soul is very amazing to many people. Actually, as you learn more and read more the Bhagavad Gita, you will also be amazed and you will wonder, wow, that is interesting. That is very, very amazing. If you go to Shloka 29, you will see, Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam Ascharyavat vadati tataiva cha anyah Ascharyavat chainam anyah shrunoti Shrutvapi enam vedana chaiva kaschit. Who has got Shloka 29 open? With the Bhagavad Gita in front of you, please read the translation. Have you got it, Shalini, in front of you?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, please read the translation of Shloka 29.
Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all.
Thank you. So which category do all of us belong to? Out of these categories, which category do you belong to? Are you getting amazed at the description? Are you getting amazed at the soul? Especially when you hear it from the Bhagavad Gita as narrated by me. Or you think, how can it be so? All the time I thought I am this body I'm seeing in the mirror. I've spent so much of my energy, time, money, decorating my body, buying good dresses, going to the boutique and looking very good, etc., etc. And you're telling me all that is waste? All the money, all the time, and I'm 55 years old now, and you're telling me this, that I'm not the body? My gosh, it's very amazing. I never knew Bhagavad Gita verses. You should have told me long back. Why did they not teach Bhagavad Gita in the school? This is what people start asking now. Almost everybody whom the Bhagavad Gita classes, Swamiji, why in the school they never taught all these things to youngsters? All my children should learn. I always tell them, first you learn. Please, first you learn. You will then be able to teach others. So all these amazing statements come in all my Bhagavad Gita classes. And some of them just keep quiet. Only me puri lenge. They keep quiet. What is this? A total 180 degrees upside down understanding of myself. I thought I'm a great guy. I thought I've got, a lot of money with me, and I've worked very hard and I invested here and there and made it big, and I'm very secure and life is going to be great and my children are all settled well, and I'm fine, and I finally opened the Bhagavad Gita. I'm 62 years old and you tell me this? My gosh. I don't know what to say. It is amazing to many people in many different ways. It is amazing. You see, so we have understood to some extent certain things. I want you to very carefully reflect on this understanding properly. You see, you should get to the point of understanding that I am spirit soul. That is my identity. Once you understand that, the next thing you will be forced to do is to actually know, therefore, what should I do? Therefore, what should I do will be your question. Right? So, who am I? You've got to understand to some extent. We will be revisiting this topic again and again in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna will keep talking about this. And when you come to the 13th chapter, he'll speak a lot more about it. And when we come that time, we will see. But right now, basics. Since you know who am I, the next question you should ask, who put me here? How did I come here? Why am I here? That's the next question. And then you'll ask, what is the purpose of life? Where do I go? What's my destination? In other words, when you come to know your title, who you are, you should be interested in knowing your job description. Yes or no? Am I right?
Yes.
Who you are. You should definitely know your job description. Like in a company, if you go, you got a job, they interviewed you, and they threw you inside the vast company, which has thousands and thousands of employees. You go and stand in between there and wonder, today I got hired here. I got an appointment order. And you stand there, nobody will care for you. You can walk up and down into every department and meet so many people. Who am I? What am I here in this company? What am I supposed to do? Please, somebody tell me. Nobody tells you anything. Everybody is busy doing their things. Only you don't know. Can you imagine how it will be? That's a lousy company. It does not even tell you what your job description is, isn't it? Any company which hires you immediately will tell you, you have got the title of team leader. You have got the title of production manager. You've got the title of marketing manager. You got the title of marketing executive or whatever it is. Therefore, these are the things expected out of you. They'll give you an appointment order with the entire job description. And they'll even tell you by so and so months, you must increase the sales by so much. Production should be up by like this. You must coordinate with this, then this, that, everything they'll tell you what you're supposed to do. Will anybody hire you without telling you anything you're supposed to do? Never. Never. Everybody wants results. And you also want results. I will tell you a real life story of mine. This is very interesting. After I came into Krishna consciousness and read Bhagavad Gita, I understood, my gosh, this fits in so well. It happened in my life. I did my engineering from NIT, Trichy, and I graduated as a chemical engineer. And I even won an award for my project work that I did. I entered the Indian Institution of Engineers design competition, designed a special sulfuric acid plant, and I got a national award. And then I was hanging around, just really wondering whether I want to do a job. No, I want to study further. Then my brother in America said, I think it's better for you to work for 2-3 years, get some experience, and then come to study your MS. Then finally, I decided. My father was so irritated with me. Simply, I'm losing all opportunities, and my friends are all in big companies and everything. They want to give a job, and they want somebody like you. Neither are you doing your application to other units, nor are you. I was just, speculating. And then finally, he said, go to the job, and he got me a job in Bangalore in a company called Grineville, Norton and Company. I think some of you know. They are monopoly in abrasives at that time. They make the silicon carbide abrasives, and aluminum oxide abrasives and all that. And they were starting a new plant called Siltronics India Limited, which was manufacturing ultra pure silicon wafers for silicon chips. The basis, IC chips, you make silicon base. That was being grown in a crystal, and so very high-tech stuff. And I had to study that whole thing and get inside and all that. I was being hired in design department. My father, his friend's son is a big man there. So he called him up and said, my son is a pretty good merit he has got in chemical engineering, and he's simply hanging around and speculating, and take him in and give him a job. He said, yes, please tell him to come. We need somebody. So my father said, you go. Oh, I said, I don't want a job. I'm looking for... No, you go now for the interview. Later we can decide whether you should take the job or not. And he forced me to say, the company's bus is coming in so-and-so place, you go there. I was so reluctant, and I went late by 5 minutes, and the company's bus came and went at 7:30 in the morning. I missed the bus. Then I thought, very good. Now I can go back and tell my father. I called my father and said, I missed the bus. He said, you rascal. He told me, you're not interested. I told you catch the public bus and go to the factory, so-and-so place you go. And then I was forced to go by a public bus and I was 2 hours late. It was far away in Devanahalli Road, the Granule Norton factory and office in Bangalore. So I went all the way. And imagine I was so tired with my files with me, and I went to the office of the MD, and the secretary told me, "You're coming so late for an interview? You want the job or not?" She asked me, the secretary, and said, "You sit down here." It was a nice air-conditioned office, and I had come in the sun and very thirsty. I took water from the cooler and drank it, and sat in the corner, adjusted myself on the sofa. I went to sleep. I was snoring. I just did not know anything about the seriousness about a job. And I went snoring. And then, I was so tired. That's why it happened to me. And then somebody was shaking my feet like this. I got up and said, yes, it was the peon. The peon told me, "Koncha help pandringla." In Kannada, he told me, "Solpa kelsa martira. Solpa help madbi. Solpa help madri." He called me. I said, yeah. What do you want? And he said, "Can you take this and seal all these letters? They have to go to the post office, and can you seal these letters?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do." And I sealed all the letters. And I was talking to him in Kannada and in Tamil and all that. And then all of a sudden, the secretary came out. "What are you doing here? Sealing." He's going for lunch. He wants to see you immediately. Then I took my file and ran inside. I told that fellow, sorry. And I ran inside. And then the MD saw me and said, "Your father's father is known to my father, and they are both very good friends. That's why he called me up. And then, what are you doing? Where are you?" He started speaking to me about so many other things and all sorts of things. Suddenly, I thought, "Your lunchtime, and do you want to go?" For half an hour, he spoke to me, and we were laughing, joking, everything. He said, "Tomorrow you come and report." That's all interview. Arey?
बैठ जा
I thought that's all.
चल जल्दी दूध पी और सोए
Hello. You'll have to mute, please. I'm already telling another story. You cannot tell another story in between. Not allowed. Okay. So he said, "Tomorrow you come." I said, "That's all?" He said, "Yeah, that's all. I just wanted to see you. Your father has told me, means I have to do." So I said, "Oh gosh, I'm getting hired." I was thinking I can still play the fool and tell my father I don't want. I went back and my father said, he already phoned me up. "Tomorrow you get ready and you go." I said, "No, I don't want." I said, No, you can go and anytime you can leave. We will see about that later. So he pushed me into the job. And the next day, I go there to the office. When I go to the office, I am welcomed. Everybody knows he's MD's man. MD knows him very well. MD knows his father, influential man. All the word is spread around. The secretary has been speaking already. So they're all one group of friends together. And I land up there and they're all very careful with me because I'm MD's man. I said, "Chef, what a type of..." Then I go in there and they said, "Sir, sit down, sir. You're engineer, project engineer, design this thing. And this is your job description. And these are the people who will report to you. Junior engineers, 3 of them under you." I said, "I don't even know what's a job. I never worked in my life before. I'm getting 3 people under me." And then the 4th person was this peon who asked me to seal. "He'll be working under you." I said, "Ha." I looked at him and he was looking down like this at me. And for a moment, I was thinking, yesterday, and I did not know that you're going to work under me. So this instance made me think something, that yesterday I did not have a title, I did not get a job, I didn't have a job description. So he used me however he wants. But today, I have a job description, he's telling me, "Tell me what you want me to do." The same fellow who used me has become the person who is going to listen to my command. So if you don't have a title, you are a useless fellow. Because if you don't have a title, you don't have a job description. If you don't have a job description, you don't know what to do. So in this lifetime, if you don't know who are you are in a mess. And because you don't know who are you take various type of titles and put on your head. I am a mother. I am an employee of so-and-so. I am a human being. I am an Indian citizen. I am a so-and-so. I am a singer. I am an orator. I am a sportsman. We like all these titles, and then we do all those things that the title tells us. This is how we fill up our life. But our real title is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned that, Jiveru Swarupa Hoy Krishnere Nityadas. Your Swarupa, your original constitutional position as spirit soul, is you're eternally a servant of the Supreme Lord Krishna. This is your title. We may not be able to believe it now in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. You may think that, oh, this is too much for me to take now, but I'm making this statement here because Prabhupada has made this statement in the purports. But as we move ahead, you will definitely be gradually brought into it. And you will be able to see what I'm saying and why I am saying so. Okay? So what I'm going to do today is stop here. I'm going to stop here and open up for some questions so that it is easy for us to understand this. I already told you, I want to spend some time on this and crack up so that it gets into you very nicely. The understanding of who am I, and therefore what should I do? And while I am understanding that I am not this body, therefore, what are all bodily things that happen to me, how I should take them, how I should respond to them. Mental things that happen to me, bodily things that happen to me, sense perceptions that happen to me, how I should respond to that. These are interesting topics for today. And before I open up for questions, I want you to think about one thing. There is an argument given by Krishna. You will see that therefore, should you bother about violence at all? Now you talk about violence. Do you understand that Arjuna is refusing to fight, refusing to do his duty as a Kshatriya, and he's saying violence is not necessary against my relatives. And now Krishna is saying, no, we are fighting adharma. These people have been violent against dharma. And they've committed violence against those who are dharma followers. And therefore, it's necessary to correct them. And they're not stopping it. And therefore, we need to fight a war. Violence is necessary to institute dharma properly. Right? So, violence and war are inevitable factors in a human society for keeping law and order. Violence, number two, done for the sake of Krishna or for the sake of dharma is not violence. This is Krishna's argument. For the administration of law and for bringing people into proper understanding and character and behavior, violence is required. Police have to be violent sometimes against people who commit outrage against those who follow the law. So, the point here is the soul is immortal. Violence can never kill the soul. That's what Krishna is trying to argue. So, war will only kill the body. The soul will survive. But this does not mean that you can go and create your own law, man-made law, and go around killing people according to your own law. No, that's not correct. God's law is what is called religion. Religion is very important. Every human being should recognize God, His laws, and follow them. That is what's called religion. Dharma or religion, dharma or laws of God, all these are synonymous. And if you don't follow that properly, you will be lost. So you will see Prabhupada, I'm reading some quotes of Prabhupada. Killing the body of anyone without authority is abominable and is punishable by the law of the state as well as by the law of the Lord. Arjuna, however, is being engaged in killing for the principle of religion and not whimsically. Okay? Very interesting points. Then another one, though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged. But at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. That need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously, not whimsically by anybody. So if you read the purports of Prabhupada, you'll see all these brilliant quotations. For the administration of justice, so-called violence is permitted. I'm taking all this from the purports that Prabhupada has written. Violence committed in the act of fighting for Krishna is not violence at all. Violence and war are inevitable factors in human society for keeping law and order. So now I'm asking you a question. Violence against genocide of Hindus in Kashmir, West Bengal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, name it, should be returned by war? Question to you.
Yes.
Should be returned by violence and war?
Yes.
Some people feel no.
Yes.
Some people feel
Yes,
yes.
Yes.
So let me see how many of you, please raise your hand or digitally and tell me yes, because I can't see you otherwise. Digitally raise your hands. And I like to see how many of you actually think, yeah, this should be done. Violence begets violence. That is the sutra. I think a lot of you feel yes to it. And quite a few of you also feel, no. That is not civilized. To return violence with violence is not civilized. Why am I asking you this question? Why am I asking this question? Because many Hindus may feel that, yeah, give it back to them. It's not based on that. It's not about revenge. It's not about that. I'm speaking to you law, according to law, according to the laws of God. Krishna is saying, you must return with violence. Otherwise, they'll never stop attacking you. Right? Why is this happening? This conversation is happening on the battlefield. For this reason, many people don't like religion. They think that Hindus are the same like Muslims and Christians, whose history is based on a bloody history of war. Hundreds and millions of people were killed. Wherever they colonized the Christians, you will see they've hidden that history. But you will see wherever the order given to them was, you colonize the people, change them to Christians, because otherwise they will never be saved. And those who don't want to convert to Christians, kill them. This is the actual law. Colonization is only the front portion of it. Behind that was this. It was all about converting people into Christianity, because Christianity is only the major good religion. All those who are not Christians even don't have a soul. This is the theology. Though when you become a Christian only, you have a soul. If you're not a Christian, you don't even have a soul. So if you kill, nothing wrong, because you're not a soul. This is the type of philosophy they had. And you'll see a bloody history of them killing lots only now. That is why people have an idea that religion means war, bloodshed, misunderstanding, horrible things. But in India and Vedic culture, you'll never see that type of war. War only happens when you go against God and God's laws. And there is a methodology for war. and there is the rules and regulations for war. It's a dharmic war. It's a religious war. And that religious war is different from the religion to religion war that we're talking about now. That is low class. It's not even dharmic. The translation of it as religious war is also doesn't hold good for this. Right? So you must make this distinction. That is, God's laws should be established. Just like traffic laws are there, government laws are there, criminal laws are there. If you do something to somebody, you'll be caught hold, you'll be punished, there'll be a FIR filed against you, and you'll be proven guilty and you have to take punishment. You cannot say, no, don't punish him. But he has done wrong. No, don't punish him. He has stolen, he has raped somebody, he has beaten somebody, he has murdered somebody. No, leave him alone. Will you say that? You cannot. Why? It's against law. Same thing only. God's laws also talk about the same thing. Right? And it is necessary to do it. That's what Arjuna is trying to convince, Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna. Right? So thank you.